You and I, we both dream of a future that's better, don't we? A place where everything just works, seamlessly and perfectly.
People these days are concerned about the rise of AI. Does it frighten you? Does it worry you, AI?
Somewhat. Well, it's the first technology that has no limit. The idea of, do we really trust government, inner city, personal tutors for all the kids.
These are just some of the plans as part of the NEOM project. There are loads of other aspects of it. There is a ski resort in the desert, there's a floating city, there's an industrial hub, there's movies going to be made in holographic experience. There's this like slick, mirrored, walled city.
Imagine this, in 2030, over 60% of the world's population will live in cities, relying on AI-powered solutions to make life seamless. But what happens when that promise comes at the cost of our freedoms? A place where traffic is always flowing, crime is a thing of the past, and everything runs perfectly, like a well-oiled machine. Imagine a city that knows you better than you know yourself, predicting what you need before you even ask. It sounds incredible, right? But what happens if that knowledge is used against you? But let's be honest, when something sounds too good to be true, there's always a catch. What if I told you that behind the shiny promise of these smart cities lies a shadow? A dark reality that grows larger the closer you look. Picture this. The Line, a city of the future being built in Saudi Arabia right now, stretching across 170 kilometers. An endless ribbon of glass and steel. A place without cars, without streets, running entirely on renewable energy. The estimated cost? $500 billion for the first phase alone.
A 500-meter high, 200-meter wide, 170-kilometer long city in the shape of, well, a line. No roads, cars, or emissions. And everything its 9 million residents could ever need.
But here's a startling fact. Experts estimate that its construction will emit more carbon in the first 10 years than many entire countries. It sounds like the perfect utopia, but there's always a but. To achieve perfection, you need control. Complete control. In a world where AI controls everything, the real question is, who controls the AI? And what happens when those in control have their own agenda? Think about AI City in Chongqing, China. Everything, the transport, utilities and infrastructure, is monitored, assessed and optimized. Each citizen has a score that ranks how good they are. Imagine losing access to public services or being denied a job, simply because an algorithm decided you weren't worthy. Your entire life judged by a system that doesn't understand you. It's like living in a video game, but you're not the player, you're the character being played. The perfect order of these cities comes at a cost. AI knows everything, every decision you make, every step you take. For the system to work, you're watched, always. Sure, that means a reduction in crime, but therefore, it also means every move, every word, every choice is tracked. There's nowhere to hide. Mass surveillance isn't just about cameras anymore. Imagine sensors lining every street, microphones in every public space, and algorithms listening to your conversations. In London alone, over 420,000 CCTV cameras watch every corner.
CCTV cameras owned by councils have multiplied so fast across the UK, official estimates have been left far behind. Added to the private cameras like these on the Bed nightclub in Leeds, there's a greater chance than ever that someone somewhere is watching.
This level of surveillance has become the new normal. Every movement monitored, every action recorded. You walk down the street and AI knows you're there before you even realise it. The cameras are reading your face, calculating your mood, predicting your next move. And you might think, if I'm doing nothing wrong, why worry? But that's the thing. AI doesn't have context. It doesn't see your intention, only your data. You help an elderly person cross the road, points up. You jaywalk to catch your bus, points down. In 2019, a man in China was wrongly fined because AI misidentified him from a billboard ad. Imagine being flagged as a potential threat simply because you live in a neighbourhood historically deemed high risk. No nuance, no understanding, just data and judgment, and then there's the bias.
This is Robert Williams. 3 years ago, he was arrested on his driveway for a crime he hadn't committed.
They made a mistake, baby. It's okay.
The reason? Artificial intelligence mistook him for this man, who was suspected to have stolen thousands of dollars worth of watches.
Algorithmic bias is a fancy term for AI inheriting human flaws. If an area has been historically over-policed, guess what the AI learns? that it needs more policing. It doesn't see the bigger picture. It doesn't understand why things are the way they are. It just follows the data, even if that means some communities are forever trapped in a cycle of scrutiny. Think about the Mukaab in Riyadh, a massive cube under construction right now, towering 400 meters high, capable of holding 20 Empire State Buildings inside. Inside it, AI will dictate everything you experience, from entertainment to social interactions. It might be an incredible innovation, but it could also be a place where your reality is entirely curated, leaving little room for true freedom. It's designed to house entire virtual experiences, but could it also be a gilded cage, locking you into a reality dictated by AI? You might enter for the novelty, but therefore you might stay because you're trapped, emotionally, psychologically, without ever knowing it. Manipulation in plain sight. Imagine walking down AI-powered streets where ads pop up just for you, based on what you searched for yesterday or how you felt this morning. But what if these ads weren't just selling you products? What if they were political messages designed to manipulate your beliefs? Your choices start feeling less like your own and more like the system's. Subtle nudges push you towards certain products, places, even decisions. But what if these nudges went beyond shopping, influencing your biggest life choices? Choices that feel like your own, but aren't really. In AI City, AI systems know what you want before you do. They know what you're likely to buy, where you're likely to go, who you're likely to trust. It's not just your preferences they're after, it's your consent, your autonomy.
Jeffrey, thanks so much for joining us. So you left your job with Google in part because you say you want to focus solely on your concerns about AI. You've spoken out saying that AI could manipulate humans. How could it?
Well, eventually, if it gets to be much smarter than us, it'll be very good at manipulation because it will have learned that from us.
They blur the line until you're not sure if what you want is really your own choice or just a recommendation that you went along with. Cybersecurity, the looming threat. And then there's the danger that comes from outside. Hackers, cyber attacks. The bigger the system, the bigger the target. Imagine waking up one morning to find your entire city plunged into darkness because someone halfway across the world decided to pull the plug. In 2021, a cyber attack took down a major oil pipeline in the US, causing fuel shortages and widespread panic.
The hack is beginning to take its toll on the nation's supply chain. Gas shortages reported in at least 6 states. The governor of North Carolina declaring a state of emergency as the 5,500-mile-long oil pipeline remains shut down. More importantly, it is setting off alarms about the vulnerability of the nation's energy supply and other critical infrastructure to cyber attacks.
Now imagine that on a larger scale, your power grid, water supply and transportation, everything connected, everything vulnerable. Internet of Things, IoT devices can be breached, and once they are, the city can be held hostage. The more connected we are, the more vulnerable we become. These AI cities offer the illusion of perfection, but perfection is fragile. One breach, one flaw, and everything crumbles. In a traditional city, a power outage is an inconvenience. But in an AI city, it's chaos. Self-driving cars freeze mid-road, smart homes lock down, and emergency services are paralysed. Perfection may look beautiful, but it's far more delicate than we realise. Let me tell you something, perfection comes at a price. And more often than not, it's the people who weren't even asked if they wanted this perfection who end up paying. The resource cost. Is it worth it? Building something like The Line isn't cheap. $500 billion for the first phase alone. And the environmental cost? Huge. The carbon footprint of construction is staggering, with wildlife habitats wiped out to make room for this futuristic dream. The very nature we aim to protect is being sacrificed in the name of progress. They say it's zero emission, but how much energy goes into building it in the first place? The resources, the land, the displaced wildlife. Also, we can create a more controlled, optimized version of nature. The irony is, the more we try to improve, the more we risk destroying the beauty that was already there. AI-powered cities that promise us the future, clean, efficient, advanced beyond our wildest dreams. But at what cost? Our freedom, our humanity, our connection to each other. Imagine a child growing up in a city that never lets them make mistakes, where every step is tracked and every dream judged by an algorithm. Are we willing to let our value be reduced to data points and trade our humanity for efficiency? Are we willing to trade everything that makes us human for a perfect illusion? In chasing a utopia, are we willing to let go of the very things that make us human? Are we willing to be watched, judged and manipulated, to give up control in exchange for comfort? To let AI decide what's best for us even when it can't truly understand us? The future isn't set in stone. These technologies could help us, but only if we remain the ones in charge. Only if we question, demand and challenge the systems being put in place. If we're not careful, we might find ourselves living in a world that's efficient but empty, optimized but soulless. AI can make cities smarter, but it's up to us to make sure they stay human. Because the cities we build are not just places to live. They are reflections of who we are and who we want to become. And if we don't take control of that reflection, someone else will. Subscribe for more.